Hello everyone, my name is Kylie, and today I would like to talk about a very important subject, and that is psychological disorders and the importance of understanding them in today's society. According to NIHM Health, every one of 5 Americans suffer from a mental illness, and in 2019, 521.5 million people lived with a mental illness. For me, mental illness is a very important subject because I personally know somebody, and I'm sure you guys know somebody as well, who is suffering or has suffered from a mental illness. And it's important to understand how psychological disorders came about and their causes and effects behind them. When it comes to psychological disorders, it is important to be well informed, especially of the main ones such as anxiety or depression. We need to take a look at the different types of mental illnesses as well as the main causes of those mental illnesses and others, and how it affects the person who is suffering with them as well as others around them, but obviously most importantly, the patient. Today we're going to take a look on the major types of mental illnesses and the causes and effects. As stated above, 1 of every 5 Americans suffer from mental illnesses, giving us a rough estimate of around 521.5 million people suffering in 2019. According to the Community Health Network, the 3 most common mental health disorders as of 2019 are listed as anxiety, major depression disorder, and bipolar disorder. When it comes to a mental illness such as anxiety, CHN states this disorder is highly treatable, but only around 37% of those affected actually receive treatment. Mental illness can affect those individuals in their everyday lives as well as their future. By this I mean there have been research shows that people suffering with a mental illness have a fewer opportunity related to work, independent living, primary health care because of the public stigma that is created by them. There's a negative stigma on mental health, and such as people look at the stereotypical aspects of mental health. They put a negative label on them, and having that label on you affects you and unfortunately does decrease your chances of living a normal life, even if you do receive treatment and are normal for the rest of your life, but you do have that mental illness. Now, with every mental illness, there of course is a cause behind it. Some of the major causes, I have a huge list, but some of the major ones is your past, such as childhood abuse, trauma, or neglect. There is self-isolation or loneliness if you don't feel like you have anyone to talk to. There is severe and long-term stress. There is significant trauma as an adult. There is drug abuse and alcohol misuse. And there's just unfortunately so many that can cause these types of illnesses. Now, mental health is also a genetic thing as well. I personally have a friend who suffers from depression, and her mom suffers from depression as well, and she has been told that she got that depression not only from her life around her, but also from her mother having depression. It higher her chances of developing it, and she developed it, unfortunately, but it is genetic, so always be aware of that and the people around you, because there's always something to the story. Now, these may be the causes of major mental illnesses, but how does this affect the patient as well as the people around them? In short term, mental health problems can cause people to be alienated from their peers because of the perceived unattractive personality traits or behaviors. It can cause anger, fear, sadness, and feeling of helplessness, and especially if the person doesn't understand what's happening, like a child with PTSD. In long-term, mental health disorders can drive a person to commit suicide. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 90% of suicides have depression or mental health disorders as factors. Mental effects can affect more than just you. And by this I mean, of course, you are the most important because you are the one suffering, but believe it or not, the people around you are affected by it because they don't want to see you going through this. There is physical aspects as well. It can cause, like depression, it can cause eating disorders, weight loss, malnutrition, and from this, it can cause eating disorders that can increase your risk of death. Mental health is such an important issue in today's society and almost always is a topic of conversation. People want you to talk about your feelings, and personally, I always say it's better out than in. It's important to remember the psychological disorders as well as the effects of them and the causes of them, of course. There are always a main mental health issue, but the little ones matter too. Think about the causes and how it affects the person suffering from this. If you ever want to help or if you ever need help, I will provide a link to a donation center that you can make an impact on. I will provide a hotline if you ever need it, as well as a suicide hotline and the suicide link as well, in case you ever need help. It's always open 24 hours. Thank you guys again so much for being here today. I appreciate you listening to my speech, and I really hope you guys got some good information off of this. Thank you. Bye.